Elements, compounds, and mixtures. When we talk about elements, we talk about only one kind of atom. We have hydrogen, helium, aluminum. If you take one atom of hydrogen, or two atoms of hydrogen, or three atoms of hydrogen, you have an element. So the smallest piece of an element is one atom. Compounds. If you have a compound, you only have one type of substance. So if you have carbon dioxide, that's the only thing you have. There's nothing else in it. However, a mixture has more than one type of substance. So it has to be two things or more mixed together physically. Elements are made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons. That's review for us. Compounds are made up of elements, or they can be made up of compounds that are chemically combined. So you have things that are bonded together. A mixture is made up of two or more substances that are physically combined. So basically, it's a lot easier to combine these things. Elements in the same group have similar characteristics. Substances lose their properties when compounds are formed. New substances formed. You get something totally, completely different. Carbon is black. Oxygen is a gas. Hydrogen is a gas. When you chemically combine them in the right proportions, in the right ratio, you can get sugar. It's sweet. Sugar is white. You get something completely new. A chemical change has occurred to get a compound. However, a mixture, nothing is new. There's no chemical change. It's a physical change. Sometimes it might look different. If something melts, it might have a different shape, and it might conform to the container it's in, so it looks a little bit different, but it's completely the same elements that made it up before are still there with their same properties. So if you have a piece of iron and you melt it, and it's the same thing. It's always going to be magnetic. Excuse my dogs because they're barking. Elements also cannot be broken down into anything simpler. Compounds can be broken down chemically. You can break those chemical bonds. Mixtures, you can separate them physical means. You can physically remove whatever's in the salad. If you don't like the tomatoes, take them out. You have the power to remove them. You can physically remove them. Salt water, you can physically remove the water from the salt by letting the water evaporate. All right, elements are placed in order of their atomic number. For example, if the atom has one proton, it's always going to be hydrogen. Two protons is always going to be helium. That's in order on the periodic table of elements. Compounds, they're fixed ratio elements. So if you want H2O, if you want water, you need two hydrogens chemically connected with a chemical bond to an oxygen. That is the only way to make water, H2O. If you want carbon dioxide, you need to get two oxygens chemically bound to a carbon. They have a definite chemical composition, so we can rely on the fact that H2O is always water. However, a mixture doesn't have a chemical composition that's exact. So my salad might be different than your salad, but we'll both have salads because whatever makes it up can be in different proportions. Like salt water. If I put 1 teaspoon of salt in my water and you put 25 teaspoons, it's still going to be salt water. Salt and water. Here's the trick right here. See this little plus sign? That means and. That and indicates that there's two things in there. There's no and here. So the hydrogen has to be connected to the oxygen at all times. This little and indicates a mixture. Okay, you have lots of different types of mixtures. Homogeneous mixture. That homo prefix means the same. That just means that the mixture is uniform. The whole mixture has the same composition throughout. So if you mix the pudding well enough, the first bite will be just as good as the last bite because the mixture has dissolved completely throughout. So these things are really difficult to identify. Like salt water. You look at it, you don't really know. But the property didn't disappear. So you taste it and you know, oh, that is salt water. But looking at it doesn't look like it's salt water. It looks like regular water because the salt dissolved. Iced tea. There's sugar in that iced tea or the lemonade. If the lemonade does not dissolve all the sugar, it's not going to taste good. So you have to make sure that it dissolves completely. It has the same composition throughout. So once it dissolves, the first sip and the last sip are going to taste the same. Heterogeneous mixtures are not uniform. Hetero means different. They're made of different substances. So these are the easiest ones to identify, like a salad. You might have 4 tomatoes in your salad. I might have 6. I still have the same exact thing as you. We both have salads, but yours is a little bit different than mine. Pepperoni pizza. I could have 2 pepperonis on my pizza and you can have 24. We both have pepperoni pizza. We both have a mixture of pizza and pepperoni, but it doesn't matter what amount we have. As long as I have 1 pepperoni in my pizza, I'm allowed to call it pepperoni pizza. You can have 75,000 pepperonis in your pizza and you're allowed to call it pepperoni pizza. All right. Compounds. Compounds are made up of 2 or more elements that are chemically combined. So when a compound chemically combines, they lose their original properties. The only way you could separate the elements is by chemical means. So it takes a lot of energy to separate those elements. So, and what I mean by the substances lose their own properties, well, chlorine is a gas when it's just chlorine, and it's very dangerous to breathe in. Sodium is a metal when it's all by itself, Na, on the periodic table, number 11. But when you chemically combine them, you make NaCl, which is salt. Has all new properties. It's white. It's a solid. Now, Na is a metal. It's silver and shiny. It's highly reactive. Put salt on the table, it's not going to react. You leave sodium alone, it's going to react right away. Sodium cannot be left alone ever. It's never even found naturally on the earth by itself because it always reacts. It only has one electron in its outer shell, so it has to find a way to give it up. So it bounds to something else. It makes sure it binds to another element. All right, this Venn diagram is showing you the differences and the similarities between mixtures and compounds. Mixtures can be present in any amount, like we said, 1 pepperoni on my pizza or 24. Doesn't matter. I can have 16 pencils and 12 erasers, or 27 erasers and 5 pencils. It's still mixtures of pencils and erasers. Mixtures have to be physically combined. Mixtures keep their properties. So when I mix the pencils with the erasers, they look the same. They're still pencils and erasers. When I want to separate them, I can separate them by physical means. Now, compounds, on the other hand, they're present in a fixed ratio. They have to be exact. If you want water, you need H2O. If you want salt, you need NaCl. If you want carbon monoxide, you need CO. But if you want carbon dioxide, you need CO2. So you really need to be exact with the molecular formula. They have to be chemically combined. They must lose their properties when they combine. So if hydrogen was a gas and oxygen was a gas all by itself, when it chemically combines and makes H2O, it loses its properties. It makes a liquid. It makes something that is so necessary for life. And we only separate them by chemical means. So it looks like the 2 of them are pretty opposite, right? Mixtures and compounds, but they do have things in common. They're made up of 2 or more substances. They're made up of elements. They combine in some sort of way, physically or chemically, and they can be broken down, physically or chemically. So, when you look at the mixtures and the compounds, you recognize that they're made up of elements, but mixtures are all physical and compounds are all chemical. Mixtures keep their properties and compounds lose their properties. So, think of a way that can help you remember this. And if you think of a funny song or a little poem or something short and sweet that we can share with the class, that would be wonderful. I guess I'm trying to... The screen recorder just disappeared. I gotta find it.